Hello, and welcome to the Low Season Traveller Influencer series of podcasts, where each week for 6 weeks we're speaking to the next generation of travel influencers who inspire us to travel to new and exciting destinations around the world. So, welcome to this episode 5 of our series, and we are delighted to be joined by the supremely talented Talia today. Talia is the face behind the hugely popular Talias Bucketlist and Travel with Talia. She is content creator for travel, fashion and lifestyle, and her photographs are visually stunning. With over 120,000 followers on Instagram and 1.6 million monthly views on Instagram, it's easy to understand why Talia recently took the plunge to do what she loves full time. But don't be fooled that this is about the money for Talia. She clearly works incredibly hard on her content because she is absolutely passionate about all she does. I was bowled over both by her humility and her clear passion for being a responsible traveller. Talia recognises that she has influence on people's travel dreams, but she takes that responsibility really seriously, with good grace and with a sense of fun. I caught up with Talia to learn more about what makes her so successful, where she's been during the past year, and where she hopes to visit in the future. So join us as we head over to California to travel with Talia. Enjoy. So, Talia, you are most welcome to the Low Season Traveller Insider Guides podcast. It's great to have you on the show. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I am absolutely awesome. Thank you so much. Listen, it's great to have you on the show. First of all, for our listeners that might not be aware, where are you right now, and how's life at the moment for you?
So I just recently moved to San Diego from Chicago, and yeah, I love living in sunny California now. The weather is perfect. I am good. Life is actually good here. Of course, a little bit of things changed during the pandemic, but right now here in California, at least in San Diego, we're able to do everything. We're able to go out, explore places, go to restaurants, be outside. So we don't have any lockdowns right now, which is awesome, and I hope it stays that way, but yeah, just fingers crossed.
Yeah, very good. So you guys is life relatively normal over there now? Do you have to wear face masks or anything when you're out and about, or is that just optional? How's it working?
It's optional, yeah. There are some counties, I think, in California that have to still wear face masks. It depends on the cases, I guess. But here, right now, you don't have to wear them. I still wear them in the supermarkets, though, because I just feel safer, and I feel like I don't know. I'm used to them now, so I'm wearing them. But there are a lot of people that don't wear them now, especially I think when you're vaccinated, it's not mandatory.
Yeah, it's the same pretty much over here in the UK. It almost is starting to feel like normal. But I was saying to a friend, I've got a friend who's in Dublin, and he was saying that in Dublin in Ireland, it's not quite as normal as we've got here in the UK. But last night, myself and my wife went out to our first gig in 3 years. We went to see. Are you familiar with the comedian Ricky Gervais?
No, should I?
Yeah, you should actually. Really, quite funny. Maybe some of the listeners are familiar with Ricky's work. But we went to see Ricky Gervais last night in Manchester. But it was just nice to be in a live kind of a setting, seeing a live show again. That was just wonderful. It feels like it's been so long.
I know.
Yeah,
I know, it's crazy. I almost feel weird not wearing a mask sometimes. Or when I see like TV shows, I'm always like, oh my God, why are these people not wearing masks? It's like too crowded. But I hope it will be normal or get normal again soon. We kind of have to start living a normal life again. And I kind of have the feeling that it is better here in the US. I mean, I think it was never as bad as in Europe. In Europe, I was stuck in Germany during the pandemic for 3 months, and I experienced like the pandemic there, and I experienced it in the US. And in the US, it was never as strict as like, at least in Illinois, where I was like, when I was in Chicago, it was not as strict as like in Europe and the UK, or like, the lockdown was just not the same. It's just like, they called it a lockdown, but for you guys, it was really a lockdown. But for the US, it really wasn't.
It was a little bit easier. That's great though. That's good.
It was easier. Yeah, it definitely was easier, which is good for us.
Yeah, absolutely, it is. Well, listen, let's sort of kick things off really for For those that aren't familiar with your work, let's open it right out, and let's start off by saying, who is Talia, and what is Talia's Bucketlist, which of course is your sort of blog and your piece of work.
Okay, so yeah, Talia, Travel with Talia, is me. I am Travel with Talia, and yeah, I just love exploring new places, travel around the world, travel around the US, and make people want to go to these places. So I kind of want to make sure that people realize how beautiful some places are that I'm going to, maybe explore it like their own backyard, and just realize how beautiful this world is. And Talia's bucket list is basically, on my Instagram, I just show the pictures, and there is not much, like there are not many options to really go into detail and explain where to go, what like places where you can stay, where to eat. So this is why I thought I will create a blog where I can kind of talk about like that part more in detail and explain where people can go, and people can always, I can link to my blog, and people can check out my blog and my recommendations, and maybe go on this trip too. And I just hope that my information, like the information that I provide in my blog, are helpful for them, and are supporting them and making them, making their next trip more memorable.
Absolutely, it's a wonderful blog actually. So it's taliasbucketlist.blog. And I would recommend everybody to check it out. And you're quite well traveled. But the one thing that really shines actually, not only on your blog but also on your Instagram feed, which is where we first sort of came across you and met you, is the quality of your photography. Your photography is just absolutely. It's just beautiful. It's utterly beautiful.
Thank you so much. That means the world to me. There's a lot of work behind every picture that I take. There's so much work that people don't see. So it is always nice when people appreciate the work and know that you're like doing a good job and trying hard.
It's very, and again, for all of our listeners, please do follow it on, and we'll put all of the links on the show notes. But if you look at the Instagram feed in particular, just every shot is. It's very, you can tell that a lot of work goes into it because they're beautifully composed. And now that's one question that we've sort of got is in all of your photographs. So obviously it's you when you're sort of on your travels, and like I said, they are utterly beautiful all of the time. You're always the only one in the photograph, and it really intrigues me because we do a lot about this on Low Season Traveler. We try and travel to places during the low season months when there are less people around. And one of the kind of beefs that we had with the travel industry, certainly in the UK, was that whenever you're on any travel website, the photos would have just nobody in, but yet when you go there, they've got loads of people in. What's your secret? Is it because you're a low season traveler, or is it, do you have any other sort of insider tips and tricks? How do you kind of get it like that?
Okay, yes and no. I mean, of course, low season traveling helps that to avoid crowds or have less crowds. But if a place is popular, you can't avoid people usually. So what I do is wake up super early. I mean, that's my secret. I wake up very early before sunrise at 4 a.m. in the morning sometimes. Wow. Get ready, go to the location like before the sunrise, and take my pictures. And honestly, that's the secret. You just have to be up very early. You have to be committed, and then you can get the shot, without people or like less people. But I'm telling you, even if you go super early, some locations in Bali or even in Thailand or in the US, there are still going to be people. It's just crazy. And then you have to get in line, but there will be less people, and some places will have no people. And I can't, obviously, if I'm going on a trip, and I have, I don't know, like 20 locations on my list, and I have only 5 days, I can't do every single place for sunrise, or it's just not possible, right? So you can't always avoid people. So what I do in that case, when I go to a place during like a peak time or like even during harsh lighting, I edit people out. That's another secret. I mean, that's not, I mean, either I wait to get my shot, and really, really be patient till people maybe leave and I have like 2 seconds to get like a photo in this specific frame that I want. Or I have to edit out some people once in a while. That's just the reality. And I know that people get mad and they're like, oh my God, why is there nobody in your photo? But then I go and it's so busy. I mean, just try to be there early. Like the spot in Chicago, the Bean, the Cloud Gate.
Yeah.
It's a very, very famous spot. And if you go at 10 a.m. in the morning, you will have a lot of people already. You have to go super early. That's the secret. And that's probably the secret of all travel bloggers, at least the ones that I know, all influencers or content creators or how you call them. That's our secret. Just be patient and like committed. And if you really want your shot, then you have to wake up early. It is tough though.
I'm sure it is 100%. Is that does that help actually as well with the light? When you are up early, is that a better light time light wise for the photography as well?
Yeah, for sure. It's the best lighting ever. I mean, when you shoot in the morning, like the time frame right before the sunrise and maybe like 1 hour to 2 hours after is the best lighting. And of course, sunset is also amazing. But sunset, everybody wants to, everybody goes like, takes pictures during sunset because it's like not early. People are already awake, and they can go to a place. So it's always so crowded at sunsets. That's why I prefer sunrises over sunsets. That's the only reason. I mean, I love both, but just for photography purposes, it makes more sense to do sunrise.
Absolutely, it does. You've traveled incredibly, to many different sort of varied places, and now obviously you've done an awful lot recently in the US, of course, because there's been more of a sort of a travel ban. But when you are traveling, what is it that makes a destination truly memorable for you? What are the kind of destinations that stand out, and why do they stand out?
I think it's honestly the people for me. The people I meet, the people I'm traveling with, and the experiences, I guess, during the trip. I feel like when you meet locals and you have like a really great talk and just get to know their story, it just makes me, feel more connected to the place I'm traveling to. Yep. And honestly, the people, it's always like the people and like the people I'm traveling with too. Because if I travel, like I usually travel with my husband, but sometimes I travel with my girlfriends too. And I know that a lot of people love traveling solo. I like that too, but I prefer traveling with a friend, because I love sharing memories, sharing moments. And, when I can share it with people that I love, and then it's even better,
It brings you closer together, I think, as well, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
It's really interesting to me because, when I was in a former job, I used to do quite a lot of travel, obviously all kind of, work stuff. But what was interesting was anytime that you traveled somewhere in the world with one of your colleagues who you were based in the office with in the UK, as a result of that travel, you were much, much closer. And I think it's a combination of spending a lot of time with them, but it's shared experiences. You've had a shared experience. So whatever that wonderful place was that you shared that experience, and that shared experience is something you've got in common. And that kind of, it bonds you straight away. And I think that's often overlooked, actually. And again, it's not, like you were saying, it's nothing against solo travelers, far from it. I've traveled quite a lot solo myself. But the shared experiences, I'm kind of with you on that. That does make it extra special. What, because you're so well traveled, because of your photography, because of your blogs, 100%, you influence people's travel decisions. Definitely. I think you influence their dreams as to where they'd like to travel. This is all pretty cool, actually, isn't it? I mean, it gives you kind of a warm feeling knowing that, you have that kind of positive effect. What I'm wondering then is who or what influences your travel decisions? What makes you decide to travel to a certain place next? What influences that? Or who?
Well, if I'm gonna be honest, I always look at the price. Like if I
Yeah.
travel somewhere, you know, I I think I told you before, I love like every place has something beautiful. So honestly, I have so many places on my list and it's hard to decide where to go next. And usually what I do, I just check prices. What is the
Yeah.
lowest, like fair price, airplane price to like what destination like that is on my list. And then based on that, I kind of decide where to go next because honestly, it's so hard to decide. I have like hard times making decisions. So that helps me to narrow it down to a couple of places. But yeah, obviously I'm also influenced by other people. I look at other like influencers, content creators on Instagram. I look at like other people's blogs. I just read a lot. And then I just save all like the inspiration that I get in like folders, collections, boards. And yeah, whenever I, see a good ticket price, I don't know, like let's say there is I don't know, a low price to fly to, I don't know, Thailand. I would look at all my boards saved on Pinterest and like Instagram and look at the photos that inspired me most that I haven't seen before, and I kind of start researching, and then yeah, that's basically how I like decide where to go. But yeah, like of course other bloggers are influencing me. I mean, honestly, like bloggers or influencers, there's so many places that I wouldn't have known about if it wasn't
Yeah.
for Instagram or YouTube or like Pinterest. Honestly, like I didn't even know that like some places in the US existed before Instagram, or like somewhere like I didn't know that I wanted to go to some places after seeing them on Instagram. I didn't know that like Malta, for example, is so beautiful, or Tenerife. I didn't know that, but like honestly, like after listening to your podcast, and like one of my friends, actually a travel blogger, also just has been in Tenerife for like 2 months straight during the pandemic. It looks gorgeous, and I didn't know. It was never on my list, but now it is. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's just crazy. Like I love that. Like it. I mean, Instagram has its downsides for sure. And but I think it has a lot of like benefits too. I mean, I discovered so many amazing places through Instagram, and yeah, I'm grateful for that.
I think that where Instagram is great, and I came to Instagram, pretty sort of late on. Obviously, I'm a middle-aged guy, um, but for me, the photographs is that's what influences me. So
Mhm.
now when I'm looking on Instagram and I see beautiful photographs, I kind of want to know, right, where was that taken? Because I just
Mhm.
see things on Instagram that I've never, in 50 years of traveling, I've never seen before. And I'm like, oh my
Mhm.
God, that's incredible. Where the heck is that? I need to find out
Exactly.
more. And like you said, that we always say it, the bucket list just gets longer. The places that I'd love to see. And you kind of get that stage in life where you kind of realize, I'm not going to see it all. And it's crazy. Of course, I'm not going to see it all. But it's only actually now as I'm entering my 50th year and I'm thinking, no, really, Jed, you're not going to get everywhere. You're not going to get to see it all. So you have to kind of just pick off the different places that you can. I suppose.
But you can still try, right? You can
Oh,
still
absolutely.
try. Just like, as long as you live, you just travel. That's what I'm going to do. You're just going to try.
Absolutely. I mean, listen, 100%. That's the reason I got into the travel industry, was because I wanted to see as much of the world as I could. I mean, that's something that's kind of really interesting to me as well. Is we've been doing this. Working title is the Influencer Series. That's the other question. Sorry, and I meant to ask that at the beginning. How do you define what you do? What do you call yourself?
It's a tough question.
Yeah, I
I
know.
mean, of course, I am an influencer kind of, because people are influenced by what I do, where I go to, where I stay, what I wear. Sometimes people love like my dresses. I'm like kind of, I got to know, like people know me like as Talia, who travels and wears pretty dresses. I mean, yeah. But I would also say I'm a content creator because I'm a traveler and content creator. That's probably the term that I like the most,
Yeah.
because I am like traveling obviously, and I'm creating content. And um the reason why I call myself content creator and not a photographer is because for me, photography is one part of the business, and editing and like, having the vision, like styling, like knowing like all the stuff that goes into the photo, and the post-production before I post it actually on Instagram or on my blog. That's the content creator part, like the whole like creative idea. So that's why I like the term content creator a lot.
Yeah, I think I'm quite interesting again, speaking to some of the others. That seemed to be the term that they were more comfortable with. But it's interesting, like I say, it's not an easy one to just kind of pin down, is it? And like you said, so much goes into it. And I think sometimes, well, I mean, I suppose the question for you is, do you think that people realize, you've got, let me get your latest figures on your Instagram, gosh, 120,000 followers. I mean, how does that feel, by the way? How does that feel? 120,000 people. That's incredible, Talia. Incredible.
Thank you. I honestly don't even realize it. I don't know. It's just, of course I see the number. And it's crazy when I think about the actual number, because I'm like, oh God, could I ever fit that many people in? Like, where could I fit them into, like space wise? I don't know. It's crazy. It's crazy and also awesome at the same time. I'm still amazed by how many people actually are following me and like are supporting me and are interested in what I'm doing, and like it just blows my mind. And as you said, I'm still growing, and it's amazing to see the journey and the community that I have. They're so supportive and really incredible people, and I really try to stay connected to each one of them. If they reach out, I really try to be responsive and like give answer with voice messages, and like try to be as as relatable as possible, because I think that's important, to stay relatable to your audience. But it's crazy. I don't know, like 120K. I don't know. It's a crazy number, and I'm happy, but it's definitely crazy, and it went so fast too. I don't know. It's just like that. I don't even remember. I reached 10K at some point, and then it went just like crazy fast, and now with Reels it's even faster. So I think I reached like 100K probably end of May, and now I'm already at 120, and I'm like, wow, this is mind-blowing. But it's the power of Reels for sure. Like Reels on Instagram are key. Videos are important. So if anybody wants to start this, videos are important. So just do that and you're going to grow.
Absolutely. You mentioned it just there, but that's something that I was really struck by actually is, you've got 120,000 followers, and that's just on Instagram that we're talking about. But what really kind of impressed me is exactly what you were saying about how connected you are to your audience. It's not easy to be connected and responsive and everything else, but I see it. I see how responsive you are and how engaged you are with all of your followers, and which of course makes that connection all the more deeper with you. And I think that's really impressive, but that's a lot of work. Sometimes I wonder, do people realize, and actually not just how responsive you are and how giving you are actually to your audience, and how generous you are with your time with your audience, because it does take a lot of time, but also with regards to, we're talking about the photography as well. And not just the photography, but also the videos as well that you do. Do you think that people really have any understanding of the amount of work and effort that goes into, and planning that goes into those? Or do you think they just sort of think that you rock up, stick on a dress, take the picture? And do you think people have that understanding? Because it's genuinely, it's art. It's what you are doing is, you're an artist. And I sometimes wonder whether or not people have that full appreciation for that.
I think some people do, but some people don't. And I think most people don't, especially if they're not in the same industry. I think even when I like pre-Instagram, I just thought, oh, they're just clicking a nice photo and it's so easy and you get all the stuff for free and it's just so easy. But that's not true. And that's why I think influencers have such a bad reputation, bloggers, travel bloggers, and content creators. because people think it's so easy. We get everything for free, but it's not true. It's so much work. Like when I work with a hotel, yes, I get the stay for free and it's awesome. But at the same time, I have to work. I have to work a lot. Like if I stay there for 2 nights, it doesn't mean that I'm just going to chill at the hotel and be at the pool drinking my margarita. Unfortunately, that's not the reality. I wake up at 4 a.m. in the morning to get my shots done, to get the videos, to get it without people. And even if I sometimes tell myself, Talia, this time you're going to chill a little bit more. You're going to, you're just going to do the photos that you need to do and not over deliver and just, enjoy the rest of the time. I'm not that kind of person. I always want more. I always see an opportunity and I'm like, oh, but this would be a great angle. And then my poor husband has to help me and take the photos for me, or like, sometimes I have to do it with my tripod sometimes I have to let him sleep. So yeah, that's just the reality. I mean, yeah, it is like a lot of work. There's just so much like creative ideas that go into it, like from like getting a campaign. You have to think about what you're going to wear, where you're going to shoot it, what time you're going to shoot it. Think about the video and like what kind of video you have to research. Like research is a huge part of it. People don't even realize. Sometimes I spend hours just looking through videos that inspire me and think about like ideas, how I can make something similar, what I could do better, and like analyze the video. And it can take me like 4 hours sometimes, and it's a lot of work and people don't even think about that. Or like different angles. And like I obviously, like whenever I go to when I pick my travel destination, I think I look at like all the inspirational photos that I have saved, and I think about, okay, what dress would go well with this location. I know it sounds crazy, but I do that because then people always ask me how why did you wear like the perfect dress for this location? How, like, was it a coincidence? And I'm like, no, it's not a coincidence. It's never a coincidence. I always plan everything, and it's like a lot of planning. So I really pack based on the location I'm going to. So this is, I color coordinate, and then I know I'm going to take like pastel tones on this vacation just because it fits the vibe of like the city or like landscape or whatever. So it's like a lot of planning. It's like so much time. I think like for one photo, from like the creative idea to like posting it, it probably is sometimes 3 to 5 hours work.
Wow. Yeah.
So yeah, it's a lot of work. And yeah, again, like we're not getting everything for free. It's like a lot of stuff, a lot of work goes into it. And I think if people would realize, they wouldn't even want my job because it's just very tough,
It is crazy. I must. So again, let's say, I've sort of traveled quite a lot with work in the past, and my elder sister in particular always used to be like, "Oh, you're off on your jollies again, somewhere beautiful." I was like, "You have no idea how hard I work when I'm there," but they don't kind of always kind of see that, and I kind of get it, that they couldn't possibly kind of understand it, but it's at times I used to get mildly frustrated just thinking, no, I almost wish that people had more of an understanding of the amount of work. And like you were saying, the planning that goes into it is just absolutely huge. But, people don't.
Exactly. I'm also like, right now I'm planning a trip to New York with some other travel bloggers, and to the East Coast, for a fall trip for the fall colors, because apparently it's Indian summer there is beautiful. So I'm super excited, but it's so much work, like to just figure out, okay, where are we going to, where are we staying? I even if you would see how much how many Excel sheets I have to plan the itinerary and like my Google Word documents, and with pictures and inspiration folders and locations, and like the maps, Google Maps, where I map out every location and what makes more sense, what kind of route we should take first. It's just so much work. It's insane. And people don't realize that my Excel sheet is like, you see like every day there's like every day mapped out, and you see like the time, like when is the sunrise, when is the sunset, where am I gonna be at 5 a.m. in the morning, at like 2 p.m. in the afternoon. So everything is already set. It's insane. I think some people wouldn't even like that, like the way I travel sometimes. It's just, but it's a content creation trip for me, so it's not like it's traveling, but it's also work. So
yeah, that makes complete sense. You were sort of saying there before about about working out where you're going to stay and stuff like that, and it just got me sort of thinking, you must have stayed in some well, I know you've stayed in some fabulous properties. I was looking at your blog, and I've had a look at some of the properties, and they do look amazing. But what and it's I hope it's not an unfair question, but just let us know any particularly memorable places that you've stayed. Could be anywhere in the world that you would sort of say to people, hey, if you ever got the chance, I would really recommend it because it was wonderful. What would your recommendations be for your favorite places that you've stayed?
Oh my God, it's tough. It's really tough.
I
I mean,
know.
honestly, like I love like the Four Seasons in Singapore. It was incredible. Like the service, the hotel, the views from the hotel were just stunning. It was incredible. And I actually stayed at a boutique hotel in Bali that was insanely beautiful. I don't remember the name. Unfortunately, I can give it to you later.
Yeah, we'll put it in the
But
show
it
notes.
was, yeah, it's incredible. Like this place in Bali, it was like a boutique hotel. They only had like I think 5 rooms or so, but like villas, but it was stunning. Like this, it was like kind of an open living room. You know, the kitchen and everything was outdoor, and
Oh,
then the
wow.
bedroom was indoor, like because we needed the air conditioning in Bali. But like the kitchen outside, it was amazing, and like the living area, and you just sit there, and it was just incredible, like a
Oh,
very beautiful place. And I also love like the Langham in Chicago. If
yeah.
anybody goes to Chicago, it's a great place to stay. It's like right by the Riverwalk, and the views from the rooms are just insane. Like every room
Really?
has incredible views. Yeah, it's just very nice, and the service again incredible.
Yeah, that's what you want is the great service as well. But I must admit, I've stayed in a few
Exactly.
Four Seasons. Four Seasons, you just in my book, you can't go wrong. Any Four Seasons
I
I've ever been
know.
to, just
And
fabulous.
don't you think like the beds, they have the most like comfortable
Yeah.
beds? I want to buy like a Four Seasons mattress, and like they're like pillows and like blankets, because it's I have never slept as good as in the Four Seasons.
Yeah, no, it's true though.
So
I think you can actually purchase the mattresses, and I mean they're like
I think so.
crazy expensive, crazy expensive.
hmm
But phenomenal. I mean, as well as even the sheets, they're kind of those white crisp cotton sheets. But when I buy
hmm
the white crisp cotton sheets here, they're just not. It's not the same.
It's not the same. I know it's not the same, but it's. I stayed at a couple Four Seasons, and every single experience at the Four Seasons is probably my favorite like chain so
Yeah,
far.
yeah. No,
Yeah,
I would
really
absolutely agree.
nice.
I think there's either 2 or 3 Four Seasons in Bali actually, and there's one
hmm
obviously in Ubud, and I think there's another one in Seminyak. And I went to see them both for on day
Oh
trips.
my God,
Oh my god, the one in Ubud was just another
I want
level.
to go.
Almost in the partly in the jungle, and it's just
hmm
yeah, another
Wow.
level, another level. Um, you've obviously been doing quite a bit of travel around the US, I guess since the lockdown. Tell us just a little bit. Give our listeners a little bit of a flavour of some of the places that you've been to in the past year since you've been locked in the US.
God, I've been to so many places. I don't even know if I can remember every single place. But
Name a few.
yeah,
Come on.
yeah. I mean, I went like right. Well, it was like in August when I did like my first trip during the pandemic. I kind of was researching like with my girlfriends, where could we go? Where there wouldn't be a lot of people. It needs to be somewhere outdoorsy. We need to hike a lot. So we decided to go to Montana and Wyoming, and it was incredible. I again like places that I didn't even had on my list, like Glacier National Park and Montana, absolutely mind blowing. And we were lucky because it was like still kind of in the middle of the pandemic. There were less people than usual, obviously, and it was amazing. It was just so beautiful. I mean, Glacier National Park, I want to go there again, like see, like do more hikes. Unfortunately, we couldn't do many hikes because there was bear activity, so
Oh wow.
they were closed. Some of the hikes were closed, so
Yeah.
that was kind of unfortunate. But that's a reason to go back, with my husband maybe this year. I don't know if we have time, but yeah, this was incredible. And Wyoming also, like the Teton National Park. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but it's incredible. Another place, probably if I have to name like one national park that like it's like impressed me the most is probably the Teton National Park. It's just so stunning. It is incredible. I heard it's a beautiful destination also in winter and summer and fall, probably for the fall colors. It's also like incredible. There was like this hike called Delta Lake. The water was so blue, like turquoise, like glacier water. It was insane. It was just insane. I was like, oh my God, is this even real? You know, like when you look at something and it looks almost like a postcard, like, like it's a painting or not real. So this is how like this specific place, Delta hike. It was a very, very hard hike. It's like 10 miles and it's like you have to climb rocks, but it's so worth it. So I highly recommend doing this hike if you ever come to the US or any of your listeners right now. It's amazing. It's really, really beautiful. Yeah. So these were like the first trips that I took in August. And then I actually went to Puerto Rico later that year. It was actually my second time. I was invited. It was a press trip, but again, like it was amazing because almost no people. It was during COVID. It was really great traveling there. People were like following the rules. You know, you had to wear your mask all the time. So it was really safe. I felt safe. You had to do a COVID test prior to arrival. And then of course, when you leave, you have to do a COVID test. And I felt really safe in the hotels there and like traveling around with a car. And there are barely any people, which was also kind of awesome for me, you know. It's always nice to have a place to yourself. It's just amazing. Yeah. And then then I went to Utah and did like a lot of like Utah and Arizona in I think it was November last year. Also incredible. Then I went to Vegas, my first time actually.
Oh, really?
And it was incredible. Yeah, it was my first time in Vegas.
What did you think of Vegas?
I loved it. I mean, I know a lot of people hate it. You hate it or love it. I actually loved it. It's just such a different vibe. I think it was different though for me for like during that time, because it was still during the pandemic. It was in January, beginning of January. There were less people, but there were still kind of a lot of people for like the pandemic going on. I was like, but everybody was wearing masks, so it was okay. And you can, you know, still kind of social distance a little, but it was cool. Yeah. I didn't know that there was so much to do in Vegas. I didn't know that there are like the red rocks you can climb, you can do a lot of hikes. There's the Valley of Fire. There's like, just so much like, you know, when you think of Vegas, or what I was thinking of Vegas before traveling there, just casinos and partying, but it's not Vegas. I mean, of course the strip is cool and it's interesting to see, but there's just so much more. There's like a lot of like scenery and like activities that you could do, which is really awesome. We did like some climbing there. It was fun.
That's that sort of what did you say it was called? Was it the fire? Is it the Valley of
the Valley of Fire?
Valley of Fire.
The Valley of Fire.
I went there and it's like Mars. Or how I would imagine Mars to be. I mean, it's just like another crazy planet, literally crazy good. But that's I think with Vegas, you know, like you said, people love it or hate it. I used to go to Vegas too. Every time there was a travel and tourism show in the States, it was always in Vegas because they're big for the big events. So I went to Vegas so many times over the years, and I hated it. I utterly hated Vegas, and I thought everything I hate about the modern world is condensed in one place, and it's called Las Vegas. And I hated it. And then, do you know what was really interesting is I kept going. And eventually I kind of got to this stage where I was like, you know what? Vegas is probably the least pretentious place I've ever been to. It doesn't pretend to be anything it's not. It knows it's glitzy and glamour on the strip and all of that. But it's not trying to pretend to be classy or anything else. It is what it is. And it's saying, you know, if you want to come and have a good time, this is the place to do it. We're not pretending to be anything else. We're just that place where you come and you have a great time. And then I started to love it. Now, I absolutely love Vegas because I accept Vegas for what it is. And like you say, once you get outside of the strip, there's just so much more to it as well, you know, to that whole kind of area around Nevada. So yeah, I'm a big fan of Vegas now, but it's just an interesting personal journey where I just hate it so much.
That's funny.
Crazy, huh?
Yeah. Yeah, I honestly didn't think I would love it because I also thought it's just partying, you know, it's just like people who want to get drunk, who want to have a good time, spend money. And yeah, there are like a lot of rich people there, a lot of, you know, bougie people. But yeah, once you see past that, you know, like, and kind of look at the other side, you see that there's so much more to it. And that's why I actually like it. I would I probably will go once a year just
Yeah,
to, you know,
absolutely. Why not?
yeah.
And
Also, there's like great food in Vegas. There are like
yeah,
amazing restaurants, amazing chefs. So
yeah.
yeah,
Okay.
I recently stayed at the Bellagio, and was actually like I had like an amazing dinner at their restaurant called Lago.
Mhm.
It's right where the fountain show is
Oh,
in the
nice.
evening. Oh my God, it was incredible. Like sitting right, right next to the fountain show, eating, having a glass of champagne or like just sipping your cocktail or beer or whatever. But it's just so stunning. It's just beautiful how the water dances, to the sound and like the
Oh,
music and
yeah.
how it just matches. It's just so like I didn't think it would be that special. I knew like I saw it in movies, but seeing it and just experiencing it, it's just so nice. It's just beautiful.
You can almost feel the pop of the water, the
Hmm.
power of the water. You almost sense it in the air, and then with the music as
Hmm.
well. They choose the music just
It's,
perfectly. And when you
I
see them dancing
know.
to the music, and you get goosebumps. You think, oh my god, this
Hmm.
is living. It just feels great,
Hmm.
doesn't it?
It's beautiful. Yeah. I loved it. I really loved it.
Yeah.
And they have like so many different like shows, like choreographies, like I was like, I started to count and I didn't know. I'm like, how many are there? Like it seems like it's always a different one.
Yeah, yeah,
So
it's fabulous, fabulous. Tell us this. So obviously, we're hopefully, fingers crossed, touch wood, and everything else. We're coming to the end of this pandemic. Hopefully, once we're sort of able to travel internationally a bit more freely, what are the destinations, the international destinations that are high up on Talia's bucket list of where you'd like to go?
oh gosh, too many, Jen, too
I
many.
know. Have you
I
got any
really
plans?
want
Have you
to.
got any firm plans? Have you got any sort of like loose plans? Like, look, February, all things being well, I want to go to wherever.
Well, technically, I was supposed to get married in November in Thailand,
Oh
but
wow.
I postponed it twice already. Well,
Oh,
and we might have to postpone again because Asia is not doing so well right now. And Thailand has opened up, like Phuket has opened up, but
yeah.
I mean, we're planning to get married on a different island that is not open yet, and we don't know. We think we have to postpone again, which sucks, but I guess that's just how it is right now. But yeah, Thailand was on our list. Even if our wedding doesn't take place, we still want to go to Thailand because I'm actually working on a business that is still top secret yet,
Okay.
but Thailand is a big part of it. And I have to travel there for like business purposes.
Mhm.
So I hope we can still go there. Maybe it will open up for vaccinated people, which I am, I keep my fingers crossed. So hopefully that works out. And so we would travel to Thailand and stay there for like 3 weeks. That's one destination that is on my list. And for Christmas, we would love to visit our family in Germany.
Yeah.
Um, if again, like the travel ban ends, the US still has a travel ban on Europeans. So for us, we are here on a visa. It would be hard to get back again.
Yeah.
So hopefully that will end soon too, so we can travel. But yeah, if those places don't work out, we think about maybe traveling to South America.
Mm.
Um, maybe, yeah, I haven't been there yet. Well, I have been to Colombia. That's the only place I've
Yeah.
been, but I really want to go to Peru and Bolivia
Oh, yeah.
and Patagonia. So these are all bucket list places. Um, but yeah, if for some reason we cannot travel internationally, I think Hawaii would be another option. So
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
that's the good thing about the US. You can do like Puerto Rico, you could go to Hawaii, Alaska. These are all like, this is all US territory. So that's really great for us. Yeah, but honestly, there are so many places on my list. I really want to go to Asia. Asia is like high, like I miss it so much. It's probably my favorite place in the world. Like I know Asia is big, but like just I love Asian food. I love Thai food. I love Vietnamese food. I could talk about food forever. Like Japanese food, I just love
Oh,
it.
yeah.
So I miss the culture shock.
Mm.
In the US, when you travel, it's the same in Europe. You don't get the culture shock. I love the culture shock. I just
Yeah.
love talking to people that are completely different, that live a completely different life. And I feel like it makes me a better person, getting to know different cultures and different personalities and different, like getting to know different kind of lives and appreciate my life more, maybe.
Absolutely, I love that. In Asia, I mean, look, I just adore Asia anyway.
Hmm.
I'm the same. I think it's the service. It's like you say, it's the different cultures. I love, Japan. You're talking about the food as well. I love the Japanese food. But I also love the culture. The whole culture is one of respect in Japan. I just love that.
Yeah.
It's so different. It's so different from here in the UK.
Oh yeah.
I just absolutely love that. We did a really interesting podcast actually with a guy he's an Israeli guy who's been living in Japan for like 30, 40 years. And he studied he studied Japanese, and like I say, he's got his own business out there. But we did 2 podcasts with him, and it had to be 2 because he wanted to talk about the Japanese culture as much as he wanted to talk about the place. I'd really urge you, have a listen just because it sums up so much about the uniqueness of the Japanese culture. But it kind of, as I was listening to him, I was thinking, oh, I want to go back to Japan so badly now after listening to him. But it's a great podcast. Good one for any listeners out there. I think we posted it maybe a couple of years ago. I'll send you the link separately, Talia.
Okay.
Awesome. It was a good podcast. What about Africa? I've got to ask because we spoke to a couple of influencers that have really well traveled throughout Africa. And Africa, of all the continents, it's one of the ones I've traveled through the least. And we've got a lot of really great contacts in Africa. But listening to some of the guys, Patrina was talking about this. She's a Canadian influencer, content creative. She'll kill me if I call her an influencer when she listens to this. But she traveled basically the whole length of Africa. And the stories that she's got, and it was like, oh my God, I want to go back to Africa. And it's just insane.
I haven't been.
You haven't been at all to Africa?
No, it's on my bucket list. It's also
gosh.
like, I need to go. I know. It's actually crazy that I haven't been there. Yeah. I really want to go. I mean, again, like, I think the sunsets there are just different, like one of a kind. And again, there's so much to see. There's so many like different countries in Africa that are mind blowing. I really want to go. Yeah.
Well, listen, hey, once this podcast gets out, a lot of our audience are are from the tourist boards and the different places around. I reckon you'll probably get a few offers now for trips to Africa, which would be fabulous. I
really want to go.
Oh, it's just I love Africa. I want to travel a lot more. But we have a guy on our team is a guy called Warren, and he's quite active actually on Instagram as well. He's a great photographer too. He's a wildlife photographer as well as a a sort of a game ranger. So he really knows his stuff on the wildlife. And we did a series with Warren last summer. We did about 6 or 7 episodes with Warren and Rue from a company called Rome Africa Rome. And yeah, once you learn about the wildlife and about the culture, it just it blows you away. But Warren's photography, he posts on Facebook. He posted on this morning on these leopards that he'd come across. They were just, but his photography is so good as well. Like it's not just with a phone quickly taking a clip. He composes everything beautifully. But Africa, for anybody that's keen on beautiful photography, Africa's just, it's got the light, it's got the nature, it's got the wildlife, it's got the cut, it's got everything. It's got absolutely everything.
So exciting. Yeah. You should send me a link of your friend's Instagram or Facebook or whatever. I want to check it out. Yeah.
Oh, I will. Yeah. Warren's, he's a legend of a guy. We're approaching the end of our time. Unfortunately, it's just flown by, hasn't it, Talia? That's always a sign of a good conversation. Before we go, one thing that we ask all of our guests on this series is, we're really focused obviously on low season travel. We're focused on the opportunity for travel to be there for the future, and therefore we're always kind of conscious of trying to encourage others and ourselves actually to be more responsible travelers. So my last question for you is, what does responsible travel mean to you, and how do you think that we can all be more responsible and sustainable as travelers ourselves?
I think in general, like, I try personally to reduce like my air travel, like the air traveling that I'm doing. I try to do like more, like I try to use more public transportation. When I'm like in Asia, I try to do like travel with buses instead of like traveling with a plane, because of course it's faster with a plane, but I just try to do my part, and that's something that I'm like kind of concerned about. And I think if you like just sometimes take public transportation instead of like taking the shorter route and maybe faster way. You might even like meet some incredible people on your way, you know,
sure.
and like make some memories. That's one of the things. And then when I travel, I try to, you know, like I always had carry my own water bottle. I try to don't like not buy any, like produce more plastic waste. And I also use like soap instead of like shampoo bottles. So like just like bar soaps, like these little things. I know it's not much, but that's like kind of my part right now. I'm trying to kind of reduce the plastic waste and travel like a little bit more sustainable in that way. But yeah, and I actually wanted to start, like the next time I travel to a beach destination, I wanted to participate, you know, in these beach cleanups and just like do that. I seen like a lot of that happening right now in Asia and Bali. And I think it's a great idea. And I know that they're like encouraging a lot of tourists, you know, to like do that once in a while, to go like to a beach and clean it up, like the whole, like do like a thing together with other travelers. And I think that's a great idea to just like reduce the waste. And in Asia, it's really bad. Even like here in the US, I see like so much waste, and I'm like always wondering why people throw it out the window and not just, you know, just take it with them and just trash it somewhere where it should be, and not like leave it, you know, on the ground. But unfortunately, that's the reality right now.
Same in the UK though. I see it around here. You know, you see, you know, trash out in the road. I mean, again, we're a slight digression, but that was one of the interesting things the guy said in Japan, and I noticed it when I was in Japan. When I was in Tokyo the first time, and this is for any of our listeners out there that maybe haven't traveled to Japan. But Japan is, you know, it's spotless. But what surprised me is, you know, in Tokyo, I couldn't find many bins anywhere. So, you know, public bins. And yet there was no rubbish anywhere or garbage.
Wow.
So I was kind of, I was kind of confused by this. So my brother was living in Japan at the time, and I was asking him, I said, you know, where are all the bins? You know, what do people do with their garbage? And he said, everybody carries a little carrier bag with them. And they put the garbage in their little carrier bag. They keep it with them, and they dispose of it when they get home in their bin. And it's all about, you take responsibility for your actions. Nothing that you do should have a negative impact on anybody else. So, you know, why overload so if you were in, you know, McDonald's, for example, you would put your McDonald's garbage in a McDonald's bin. You wouldn't put it in any other bin, because that belongs to, you know, the McDonald's. It's this whole notion of respect for others, and they just take it to that degree. And that was the other thing that was really interesting, is in the schools there, in the kindergarten, they don't have cleaners. The kids clean up after themselves. So they learn from a very young age, you all play a role in cleaning up after yourself. It's nobody else's job to clean up after you. It's your role to clean up after yourself.
That's amazing. And I think we can learn a lot. That's mind blowing. I love that. Yeah.
I was thinking the same. I was thinking, God, why can't we be more like that in the UK? You know, because actually it could be a lot better. But anyway, we digress.
Not only in the UK, everywhere, in Germany, US, everywhere, you know, we can learn a lot. Yeah, that's definitely like a huge problem all around the world, except for Japan, apparently, which is amazing. At least one country got it down.
Yeah, they have. They do. You know, they do an awful lot right. You know, the Japanese are so humble as well. They would never state that they were the best at any of this. But you know, it's like you were sort of saying with regards to, you know, bringing bars of soap and, you know, filling your water bottles. I always think that we shouldn't. You know, we should never even put that down. That's still important, and it's still a big step. And we should never let doing something, you know, doing some small good steps, you know, they shouldn't be shouldn't be the enemy of perfect. Okay, you know, I'm the same. I'm not perfect at this, but you know, that doesn't matter. As long as we're trying and we're making our small steps, all of those small steps will add up. And I guess that's the hope ultimately, I guess.
That's true. If everybody does a little, it's better than if everybody doesn't do anything. So I'm doing my little baby steps, and I just hope it helps and 100%. Goes into the right direction.
100% it does. Hey, Talia, thank you so much for your time and being so generous with your time as well. It's been a really, really fun and interesting conversation, and we really appreciate you sharing your experiences with us and with all of our listeners. It's been fun. Hopefully, you've enjoyed it too.
Yes, I did. It was very fun.
Good stuff. Well, listen, thank you so much. We will share out on all of the show notes a lot of the different aspects that we've been talking about today. And of course, we'll share all of the links to your feed and to your blog, of course. But for now, thank you so much for your time and look forward to speaking to you again in the near future.
Thank you. Have a good one. Bye-bye.
Thanks. So there you have it. It was so great catching up with Talia, and who would have guessed that she grew up in Germany? She's got a better grasp of English than most people I know. I can't recommend highly enough Talia's feed on both Instagram and Pinterest. Her posts and reels are incredibly well produced, and visually, well, they are just beautiful. She clearly works incredibly hard, and the results are testament to her passion and talent. I'm sure you're inspired to learn more about travel with Talia, and you should check out her feeds on both Instagram and Pinterest at Travel with Talia, as well as her blog site, taliasbucketlist.blog. And of course, you can find out more information about Talia on the Low Season Traveller website under the Influencer Series heading. One last thing I will say about Talia is even with 120,000 followers, she still engages with every single person who comments. And I think that tells you a lot about how hard she works and just how much she cares. But that's a wrap for this week. Please do join us next week for our final episode of the Influencer Series, where we catch up with a YouTube travel legend. Our guest next week has travelled the entire length of Africa with a massage table on her back. She's an author, a brilliant presenter, and when the world locked down in 2020, she headed straight over to Africa to experience destinations without crowds at a time when they needed it most. In some regards, I would say she's the ultimate low-season traveller. Her videos receive millions of views, and she is just a genuinely wonderful person too. I'm genuinely thrilled to be introducing her to you next week, and I know you will just love this final episode. If you're enjoying this series, please do leave us a review on iTunes or Spotify, and if you've got any questions for our guests or feedback, please do send them directly through to me at jed@lowseasontraveller.com. Until then though, take good care, stay healthy, stay safe, keep your travel dreams alive, and remember that travel is better without the crowds.